What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Morphinominal, your weekly stop for your Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider review and news right here on our YouTube page, A-Plus Morphinominal. As always, it is I, your Morphinominal host, Adam Perez, back once again. Guys, you didn't think I was going to leave you hanging completely on a Saturday, right? Like, even though I'm not there live, trust me when I'm saying I'm working overtime to go ahead and still bring you guys content, even though it's not live. So yes, this is in fact pre-recorded. I tried to go ahead and hold off on any news until like Thursday night. So that's exactly when I'm recording this for you guys. So if something does pop up on Friday and you don't see it on this week's episode of A-Plus More Phenomenal, maybe I'll go ahead and tackle it sometime next week. So I just want to let you guys know, pre-recorded on Thursday, but trust me, still plenty to definitely talk about in the world of Power Rangers and all of our favorite tokusatsu stuff for sure. Most notably known though, on the Power Rangers side, we're definitely going to be focusing on today. I hope everybody certainly enjoyed Power Rangers Beast Morphers this morning as well. We did go ahead and drop a review for you guys earlier today in regards to that, so I certainly hope you enjoyed it. But guys, we've got ourselves at least 4 topics that we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. And we actually have a couple of live viewer questions that we're going to go ahead and get into that we have from throughout the week that people have already submitted. So I figured why not go ahead and take care of those as well while we're doing this particular week's episode. So guys, let's go ahead and get into it, ladies and gentlemen, shall we? First story that we want to talk about, and this one's just going to be brief and kind of just off the top, but this comes to us actually from not only No Pink Spandex over on Twitter and their website as well, but also from Simon Bennett himself, ladies and gentlemen. This comes to us from No Pink Spandex, letting us know that executive producer Simon Bennett has confirmed on Twitter that filming for Power Rangers Dino Fury will start as COVID-19 restrictions in Auckland, New Zealand have in fact been lifted. Now, the reason why we're bringing this up, this actually wind up coming to us. I actually noticed this from Simon Bennett himself. If you guys want to go ahead and check this out, let me go ahead and bring this up here so you guys can see specifically. But this is in fact from Simon Bennett himself. He says, very happy to be starting filming under alert level 1. Long may it continue for sure. Listen, the one thing that I'm loving about New Zealand is, especially when it comes to COVID, the moment that any particular cases really kind of start popping up, or they start seeing like consecutive days where they are getting some cases, they immediately kind of just really shut things down. And I'm assuming level 1 probably means no production is certainly being able to go on, or at least I'm assuming anything above a level 1, you probably can't do any production whatsoever. So it definitely seems as though Simon Bennett himself super pleased to see that restrictions have been lifted and that they're going to go ahead and start filming here for Dino Fury. Now, I don't know if they've already gotten a couple of days under their belt or not. I believe that originally October 4th was going to be the day for Power Rangers Dino Fury to begin production, but with the restrictions and things like that, we actually may not see them. I believe they probably, if anything, maybe just started doing some filming for Dino Fury sometime this week or this weekend for sure. So I'm just glad that they were finally able to get in front of the camera. We do know that some of the Dino Fury cast is at least currently there in New Zealand. We've already seen, if you've been checking out like Hunter Deno's IG page, I feel like if there's anybody out of this Dino Fury crew that's going to give us like an insight into what's going on, during filming, maybe some behind, I don't want to say like behind the scenes stuff, but just, you know, hanging out in New Zealand, hanging out with the rest of the cast and crew and things like that. If there's anybody that's going to take photos and post that kind of stuff, it seems as though it's going to be Hunter Deno. So I would definitely recommend checking out her page for sure, because I believe she posted a picture of her with Kai along with Russell as well. So I can't wait to see what these three wind up doing. And still, we definitely have no word yet as to Chance Perez or Alexandra Nunez being in New Zealand, as really there's two gigantic question marks over both of those actors since they have not been revealed. So we at least have our three Rangers here in the Red Ranger, Pink, and Blue that are over in New Zealand that we know of. Hopefully, beginning their filming for Dino Fury this week. I cannot wait, guys. Like, it's so crazy for me. Like, as a Power Ranger fan, yes, I'm super thrilled already for Power Rangers Beast Morphers and what I've gotten so far from this season and the two seasons as a whole, I should say. So for me to be able to have like that equal amount of excitement, I feel is like, I don't want to say necessarily a long time coming, but it just feels good to leave a series that you're really pleased with and going into one that you're really excited for, because sometimes we do have some seasons that leave bad taste in our mouths, and we're just so ready for one season to end and for us to jump into another one. I continue to be thoroughly excited for everything that Power Rangers has dished out so far, from Beast Morphers to just some of the little things about Dino Fury that we've come to see so far. I cannot wait. And if they continue that momentum from what we've gotten from Beast Morphers so far, better look out. Better look out, because Dino Fury might be fire. So we'll see what happens there. But guys, listen, Dino Fury is filming. New Zealand lifted some of its restrictions. Let's get it, guys. So I'm certainly excited, and I definitely hope well wishes and everybody out there in New Zealand, from the cast and the crew. One thing that we certainly hope is that everybody tries to be as safe as possible. And when you have a great leader like somebody like a Simon Bennett, I definitely do think that everybody certainly will be taking precautions very, very seriously out there. So this is to a very fruitful production and very safe production as well. So let's go ahead and continue to move on from there, ladies and gentlemen. The next topic I definitely want to go ahead and talk with you guys about. Listen, there's been a lot of worry, I should say, in regards to the Hasbro and Toei potential split, right? I feel like more and more news that starts to kind of come out either solidifies that idea maybe just a little bit, maybe throws up more question marks, right? We've kind of been talking about that here at APlus Morphinominal over the past several weeks, just little things that are being done or being said over at Hasbro to kind of make you think, is that plausible? Is it still going to happen? Is that something that we're certainly going to get? And this past week, guys, Hasbro was in attendance at a festival. I believe it was called Festival of Licensing, if I'm not mistaken. And Hasbro and Entertainment One did actually have themselves a panel where they really talked a little bit about the future of some of their brands. And in the midst of this panel, Power Rangers certainly came up quite frequently. And so while this doesn't necessarily hint at the idea of the Hasbro and Toei split, this does at least hint at a little bit here that maybe Hasbro has potential plans for Power Rangers. And one of those particular plans for Power Rangers is Power Rangers is getting an animation, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Power Rangers animation confirmed at the Festival of Licensing. And we'll certainly go ahead and highlight that for you guys as well. So let's go ahead and bring up this page, because this comes to us from Mega Brazil Power. Let me just make sure I got that right. Mega Power Brazil, Adam. Get it right, buddy. I know I can speak correctly. So yeah. So this comes to us from Mega Power Brazil. I actually had to go ahead and actually translate this page because it did come through in Portuguese. But they do have some great articles in here. But they, in fact, did cover this particular festival. So according to the festival, this is what the article says. It says, Hasbro's panel at the Festival of Licensing had some exciting news for Power Ranger fans. As previously mentioned here at Mega Power Brazil, the Hasbro and E1 panel highlighted the expansion of the main brands of both companies to other media, which included Power Rangers. So let's go through some of these quotes that we wind up having here and just kind of break some of this down. So it says, at the beginning of the panel, we had the participation of Samantha Lamau. It says the president of Hasbro and E1 in brand entertainment. This is what she said, who commented on the future of the brand. She says, we are bringing a new level of storytelling to Power Rangers. And we are excited to announce that the team at our E1 studio is in deep development to expand the universe and is working closely with Oliver Dumont, president of the family brand segment for E1. So this is coming again from Samantha Lamau, who says we are bringing a new level of storytelling to Power Rangers, and we are excited to announce that the team at our E1 studio is in deep development to expand the universe. Guys, that gets me super excited, to be quite honest with you. Listen, the one thing that we've talked about here, when we have talked a little bit about the Hasbro and Toei thing, the one thing that people tend to say is, the only thing you really need to fix when it comes to Power Rangers is the writers, right? If you can fix the writers, then you can fix Power Rangers, and Power Rangers can go on to become successful again. I mean, granted, listen, we have seen some Power Ranger seasons that have had some great writing that truly, unfortunately, at the end of the day, didn't really amount to anything bigger for the brand itself, despite some of the great writing. But what I feel like when I read this makes me feel like, you know what? We're going to be bringing in the head writers, or like the head honchos, when it comes to some of this writing, to really bring us brand new different levels of storytelling that we really haven't seen too much when it comes to Power Rangers. I mean, the fact that they're bringing in a new level of storytelling tells me that maybe they have some things in mind in regards to brand new writers. The idea that we've heard from them just being a part of Entertainment One alone gives them access to, excellent production and a writing team and things like that. Like, being able to access Entertainment One really allows them to have the services of other people that beforehand they may not have had. So who's to say that maybe some of the writers that we have now, and again, this is no disrespect to the writers, but who's to say that some of the writers over at E1 couldn't tell more compelling stories than what we certainly are, right? Or have other fresh, brand new ideas that we might get the opportunity to see, instead of some of the same old writers kind of feeling like they're treading tires, if you will, right? Or retreading the same thing that they've already kind of gone over. Maybe the idea that they're working on this very closely over at Hasbro and wants to bring in a new level of storytelling means that they're looking to up their game, that they're not comfortable with where they certainly are at, and that they certainly think that they can bring more to this particular franchise in the realm of storytelling. So the fact alone that they're talking about them being in deep development and have plans to expand the series, all that for me really gets me excited, guys, to be honest with you, especially the idea of expanding in this universe. Because the one thing that we've talked about is, yes, while we do have executive producers and writers that focus on Power Rangers Dino Fury, make no mistake that behind the scenes, there are other groups of people that are working on brand new content for Power Rangers that we haven't even been introduced to yet as of right now. So the fact that they're bringing in what seemingly is bringing in brand new writers so we can get new levels of storytelling, and it looks as though they're taking this franchise and certainly expanding it, trying to come up with different ways to tell these stories so they can go ahead and deepen and expand the universe that they have before us. So I think this is a great quote from Samantha Lamau. Definitely goes ahead and actually brings me a little bit more confidence in regards to what Hasbro's doing. To kind of go through this even further, it does say that the panel continued with Oliver, and Oliver is Oliver Dumont here. Oliver, it says here, is he says the panel continued with Oliver talking about Hasbro and Entertainment One's projects. The state of development for the entire organization has more than 100 TV projects and 60 film projects, and Hasbro's blueprint category brands, which includes Power Rangers, will continue to be accelerated using E1's expertise for series, cinema, and music. Again, showcasing the importance of why they picked up E1 in the first place. And from day one, they've talked about the idea of including Power Rangers in their Hasbro blueprint. So this really doesn't come out as anything new, but the fact that they said that they're going to continue to accelerate using that definitely means that, again, things are certainly in the works for sure. And I cannot wait to see what they have in store. Casey Collins, the vice president and global manager Ranger at Hasbro was the one that caught the most attention at the end of the panel. So this is what Casey Collins says. He says 2021 is a very good year for from the cinema point of view. We hope that all dates will remain. We are working with the E1 team, and there are currently 34 projects in progress, including films, TV projects, animations with Hasbro brands. So if anything, as far as cinema point of view, it looks like they're still on track, at least for their Power Ranger film. But granted, with how everything has been working out with production and the pandemic and things like that, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the Power Ranger movie is pushed a couple dates back. But who knows? I mean, the fact that they're in sort of early pre-production, if you will, for this particular movie, maybe the pandemic, by the time they are ready to get into filming, will maybe soften it up a little bit, but we'll see. But Casey also continues. He says, Power Rangers is a beloved property. We are very excited about the next season of Dino Fury. I think fans will love it. As partners with E1, we're exploring all the different content for Power Rangers, including cinema, including streaming, including animation. So we have many projects underway. It is too early to announce exactly what the plans are, but we hope that when we enter next year, we will have some clarity about the next Power Rangers design. Now, when he says Power Rangers design, when I first originally read that, I honestly thought he meant like costume design, like are we getting a brand new original Power Ranger design? That's what I certainly thought that he meant when he said have some more clarity about the next Power Rangers design. But it was in fact corrected to me, because again, this page is in fact being translated from Portuguese to English by Google, I'm assuming. But the gentleman, one of the gentlemen's, I should say, I don't even know if it's a gentleman or not, the one person did at least comment back to me when I posted about this on Twitter, saying that the actual quote, when you actually read the quote in Portuguese, it means like Power Rangers, the next Power Ranger ideation, in regards. So in other words, what the next Power Ranger concept or ideas are certainly going to be. So they will have more clarity come next year on what the next Power Ranger projects are certainly going to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't really have any new announcements at least until 2021, because if anything, I would expect them to want their main focus to solely be on Dino Fury, certainly going forward. You got to build up that anticipation. You really don't want too many uh distractions, if you will, from your premiere. So I would assume, if anything, maybe after Dino Fury is announced, we'll get a little bit more clarity on the future Power Ranger projects. But the fact, again, that they are talking so highly about Power Rangers, saying that it is a beloved property, that they're very excited about Dino Fury next season, which they certainly should be. I'm sure they're putting a lot of effort and money into it for sure. But the fact that they say that it's including cinema for Power Rangers, which we know because they have a movie underway or in pre-development, including streaming. Now, when they say streaming, I'm immediately thinking another live action property. It doesn't say live action, but if you're going to say streaming, I'm immediately thinking a brand new series. I don't know if that's just me thinking that way, but when you tell me, listen, we're thinking about including streaming, to me, that certainly tells me you're definitely thinking about the idea of maybe giving us another live action series. So including cinema, including streaming, and of course, including animation. So if anything, again, a lot of this stuff is in pre-development. So if anything, they have people working behind the clock trying to figure out what they certainly want to do. Definitely going to be along the lines of digital animation. If I do recall, let me see, there was a quote for Oliver earlier. Let me see what Oliver said, because it does say Oliver commented. Let me go ahead and pull this back up here so you can follow along. Oliver commented on Hasbro's preschool brands like PJ Masks, Peppa Pig, and Ricky Zoom, and how they relate to Hasbro's complete catalog. It says animations will be our main focus, but we'll also be working with live action products, particularly in the digital environment. So again, they definitely are going to be utilizing that concept in the future for animation. Again, the idea is they're also going to be working with live action products. It does say that the chat concluded at the table with the 5 members of Hasbro that we commented on earlier at the site, that Michael Kelly commented that Hasbro's preschool portfolio is incredible and has a lot of potential, but that they were excited to work with the 80s, 90s fandom brands portfolio with access to the engine of E1 that can be brought back to life with incredible storytelling potential. This is the quote that really jumps out to me, or at least the line that jumps out to me from Michael Kelly. The fact that while he is commenting about the preschool portfolio that Hasbro has, he's also pretty impressed and excited to work with the 80s and 90s fandoms brand portfolio, which I'm assuming because of the fact that Power Rangers began in the 90s, that certainly has to be included in there. So the fact that they can be brought back to life with incredible storytelling potential. Again, guys, I feel like they keep telling me that they have big plans for Power Rangers here. And that they want to go ahead. The idea of having big plans for Power Rangers, wanting to expand new levels of storytelling, that type of stuff just tells me not only is it in good hands, but they're really looking to at least push the potential of what Power Rangers can be. And I think as a Power Ranger fan, that's what I want. That's certainly what I want to see. Now, granted, listen, I get the idea that as fans, we've been in this sort of bubble for the past 25 plus years as Power Ranger fans, right? We're so accustomed to having things done a regular way. So the idea now of having somebody come in and maybe change things up and give us new things that we didn't expect that we could potentially have from in the past. A lot of that stuff, I get the idea of it being worrisome, right? Because change does bring worry for some people. Sorry, I'm trying to scratch my back. It's like in that one spot, you know what I mean? That you just can't get sometimes. But this does excite me to the extent that yes, change can be worrisome. Again, we still don't know what's happening with the Hasbro and Toei split, but if you ask me, the fact that they have such a big plan. Again, I just don't know if you can do that with Toei attached at the hip. I just don't know if they would allow half of this stuff that maybe Hasbro certainly wants to do, right? So if we're going to get this, maybe change does have to happen, and that it can be scary for sure. But I will say this, if change is coming for Power Rangers, the fact that Hasbro is talking so glowingly about it the way that it is does give me hope. It may not give everybody hope, but it definitely does give me hope. It definitely makes me feel like people are really paying attention to this, that they're keeping true to their word from 2 years ago when they purchased this particular brand. They're saying the same things that they did 2 years ago. The idea that Power Rangers is going to play a major role in our upcoming blueprint portfolio that we have for Hasbro, right? They've talked about the idea of wanting it to become a part of Entertainment One, and now it has become a part of Entertainment One, right? Things are in movement. And so now that we see a presentation, or a panel, I should say, from Hasbro and Entertainment One telling us their plans for a lot of their properties, that gets me excited, because the one thing that I've been asking for Power Rangers is, can we do something different? Where can you take this brand? What is the true potential? Instead of us just getting comfortable with where we are at now, let's expand it, man. Let's go ahead and push this envelope if we can, and see what type of content we can certainly come up with. I mean, you've got some amazing minds in Michael Lombardo and some other executive producers and people behind the scenes that are working towards this type of stuff. So I'm hoping that with this new level of storytelling that the purchase of E1 has provided them with access to all these things that Hasbro didn't have before, maybe now that people can actually get their hands on a Power Ranger property and get some fresh idea and some fresh blood into there, I'm all for it, man. So cinema, bring it on. Streaming, bring it on. And animation, bring it on. Listen, we've talked about the idea of an animation. And the one thing that I've asked for quite some time is I would love an anthology series for Power Rangers. There's just so many Power Ranger teams out there. It would almost be a disservice to just focus on one. Now, listen, I know that there's a love of MMPR from Hasbro, and the idea that they want it to be kind of front and center at times. Because listen, I get it. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is Power Rangers. The general public remembers Power Rangers as dinosaurs and MMPR. That's just the cold, hard truth. So if they are going to focus on an MMPR animation, it may not be my first choice, but I certainly would welcome it, especially if the animation is certainly going to be pretty top notch. And that's what I'm kind of hoping that it certainly would be. But I'm open to it. I don't mean top notch, like it's got to look all CGI no, I just mean quality art, quality storytelling. I'll definitely go ahead and check it out. But for me, when I think of animation and just how big this franchise is, I just think the possibility of an anthology series. I don't know how many episodes that they would like to have, but maybe mini story arcs for different Power Ranger teams. Maybe 2 episodes here, 3 episodes here, 2 episodes here, 1 episode there, right? Like just switch it up. But the idea of building up this anthology series, the idea of having all these different animated versions of these Power Rangers from different dimensions, maybe slowly work up towards something like a Shattered Grid or a Beyond the Grid storyline, right? Let's eventually start including some potential storylines from the Boom Studios comic book. Let's start merging some of that stuff together, right? I do think an animation for Power Rangers can be pretty spectacular. I don't know what people are expecting from an animation. I hear a lot of people say they don't want anything animated. And I feel like I don't want to say that's a disservice, but I feel like it's an opportunity for this franchise to grow in a type of media it's never been in before. And I feel like there's been plenty of cartoons on that, like animation shows on, that can do something like a Power Rangers easily. Like Netflix is a fantastic spot for some. I don't want to say anime because I don't necessarily think that Netflix has the best anime series, but maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like some of the animation series that I have seen on Netflix have been pretty impressive. And I think in today's day and age, the type of technology that they have, some of the storytelling that they can certainly push the envelope with, I think Power Rangers would actually work relatively well in animation. You know, the one thing that I think that stands out from Boom Studios is that because it is in art form, that you really can just kind of go wherever you want to. There's really no limits in regards to the stories that you want to tell because you can draw and create whatever it is that you want. You don't have those live action limits, if you will. But if you have animation, what kind of Power Ranger story you want to hear, man? We can create that. You know what I mean? So I think if there's anything that's going to expand the Power Ranger franchise and tell even more compelling stories, I don't see why people would be against the idea of animation because I think that's just right up the same alley like Boom Studio comic books might be, right? I did have just another comparison off the top of my head and I unfortunately lost it, but the potential certainly can be there, regardless of what route that they want. As long as my animation is just not like some big old headed kid with a little body and it's really just kiddie animation, no. But if it's going to be somewhere in between, maybe something pushing a little bit more YA, whatever the case may be, I'll be cool with it. I just think it really does a great job of opening up the universe. And I just want to, the reference I was going to make was the idea of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, I don't think we're getting that type of level of animation for Power Rangers by no stretch of the imagination. But I will say the idea and the concept is the same, right? Introducing us into a verse animation wise, being able to do whatever that you certainly want to. And make no mistake, the success of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse probably helped propel Sony to that idea of, hey, let's continue along with the Spider-Verse and try and expand it live action if we certainly can. So I think the idea of Power Rangers animation will do nothing besides just give it that extra momentum to expand this universe. And I think they could do some really, really fantastic things in that realm if handled properly. So I'm honestly excited. I'm honestly excited for what Hasbro certainly is going to provide for us. It may look different and be different than what we are used to, but I feel like with the commitment that Hasbro has put behind this franchise, that from everything that they've said so far, I feel like I don't want to say we're in completely safe hands, but it definitely gets me encouraged to feel like they at least have a plan. And I think come 2021, it's going to be a really big year for Power Rangers. I think they're probably going to drop some bomb in regards to announcements. And if anything, while I think a lot of us thought that the announcement for Hasbro purchasing Power Rangers was a big announcement, I think 2021 is going to lead to an even bigger announcement for the franchise going forward. But guys, listen, you saw it. Go ahead and check out the article if you want to. Again, Mega Power Brazil. Go ahead and get that article translated if you want to. Animation confirmed. They're including streaming. Again, I think that means maybe some live action development as well somewhere down the line. Cinemas expanding the universe, bringing in new levels of storytelling. If you guys wanted new stories, Entertainment One's working on it for you guys. So definitely let me know your thoughts from that particular article in the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for that, guys. I definitely appreciate it. Let's see here. Listen, guys. Also, if you guys have any live viewer questions, clearly because this is pre-recorded, you can't submit them today, but you can feel free to submit your live viewer questions anytime throughout the week, guys. If it's in regards to a question from a common writer, Saber, or Kara Major that you wind up watching, maybe there's a question or a topic you want to discuss from some of the news that wind up dropping throughout the week. At any time, if you want to have a question that you know is going to be answered for sure at the end of every episode of A Plus More Phenomenal, submit your emails, ladies and gentlemen. Submit your emails to aplusmorephenomenal@gmail.com. Again, that's aplusmorephenomenal@gmail.com anytime during the week. And it definitely will get read at the end of A Plus More Phenomenal every weekend, Saturday live at 11 o'clock Central Time, or excuse me, 12 p.m. Central Time, Saturday at 12 p.m. Central Time. So definitely go ahead and do that, guys, whenever you get the chance, along with hitting that subscribe button. So ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and jump into our next topic. And we're actually going to transition over to some Boom Studios comic book talk for you guys today. Listen, one of the mini series that I am so invested in has in fact been Drakkon New Dawn. It is a mini series that I've been pleading for people to go ahead and pick up if they haven't done so. It is a continuation from the Ryan Parrott Ranger Slayer one shot that we wind up getting, continuing along with the Kimberly Hart storyline into Drakkon New Dawn. It is in fact a 3-part miniseries. The first 2 have already come out, but we're still anxiously awaiting the second one. Well, Twitter was busy today, ladies and gentlemen, in at least getting us a tease at what we can expect in regards to issue number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the Shattered. That's right, the Shattered. This is a brand new Power Ranger team that is going to go ahead and be introduced in the upcoming New Dawn issue number 3. I believe the writer or the artist did get the okay for this variant cover for New Dawn number 3 to be released today. So I love the fact that he at least tried to get permission before dropping this. I don't know if his variant, I think he says the company he works for is the 616 Comics, I believe is the name of the company. They clearly don't have marksmen or like snipers like Marvel and Warner Brothers does to stop leaks from happening. So I'm glad that he at least did go ahead and ask for some permission, but they gave him the okay and he went ahead and dropped this. Let me go ahead and actually bring up the actual the tweet that he wind up putting out. This comes to us from Steve Berkland. Steve Berkland himself says, "The Shattered. I have been given the okay to reveal the cover I announced for issue 3 of Drakkon New Dawn for the 616 Comics is the only cover to feature the first appearance of a new Power Rangers team, The Shattered, which will make its debut in the book." Look at this. Like, let me open this up a little bit more for you guys. Look at this picture, man. I think this is just a beautiful photo. This is something I honestly like poster wise. I would love to have this hanging in my on my wall, honestly. So Steve Berkland, if you're listening to this, hey, send me a poster, send me a lithogram or something of it. I definitely would love it. Let me see if I can go ahead and bring. Oops, see, I'm gonna mess this up, guys. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and bring this up. I love this photo. So when you're looking at this photo, for those of you who don't know, when it comes to New Dawn, here's our new Power Ranger team. At the top, we do our. I'm assuming at the top that looks very much like Scorpina, who definitely has played a significant role in this series. One that I've been a really big fan of, honestly. So we've got Scorpina there. To her left, our right, watching it at the top right hand corner, that is in fact Zach with his axe. To the right of Scorpina or our far left, that definitely looks like Trini in the background with a sword in her hand. It looks like. And the two characters up front, the one in the mask and the armor, that definitely looks like Jason for sure. And then the one in front of him, that definitely looks like, to me at least, it definitely looks like a Kimberly Hart, if you will, or maybe another type of Ranger Slayer. Now, granted, this is me just assuming that that's who these characters are, and that assumption is simply based off of the storyline that we've gotten so far from New Dawn. The last time that we wind up seeing these characters, we did in fact see that Jason wind up taking back his power coin. He said, screw this coinless universe. I want my coin back. And he wind up getting his Red Ranger abilities back, asking the rest of the team, like, hey, we're the Power Rangers. You gonna do this or what? Really asking them if they're going to take back their power coins and have their abilities once again. And so maybe the Shattered is in fact sort of like a middle ground or a compromise that this team has managed to kind of put together, right? The idea of like, you know what? Because we are in a brand new time, and with the coinless universe has really been cemented, maybe we don't necessarily need the Power Rangers the way that they used to be. Maybe we can kind of form a brand new Power Ranger team to a certain extent, and I would assume that maybe this is our team that we get here in the Shattered. Again, there's really not many details that have in fact been revealed to us as of yet in regards to this team, but just based off alone of where I've seen New Dawn go, this is definitely my assumption as to who this team is. Scorpina, Trini, Zach, Jason, and Kimberly. And the idea of even seeing Scorpina on here makes me a little bit giddy, because if there is any villain that I have wanted to see a redemption story for, or maybe not necessarily wanted to see one, but didn't know I wanted one until they started giving me one, I really love just seeing the balance that Scorpina is trying to find right now in regards to continuing to be that badass villain that she is, and also maybe warming up a little bit or letting people inside, if you will, because she is having some very vulnerable moments in here that she quickly tries to correct. So for me, it's just really fun to kind of see where Scorpina is going to land at. And so to kind of even see her on here, if that is in fact Scorpina, the fact that she's even on here really tells me wonders and where this storyline is certainly going. This is definitely one Power Ranger team I'm really looking forward to. I will say this: I can't remember who it was um, that made this reference. I was on Twitter, and they were talking about the idea that like this isn't a Power Ranger team, and it at least maybe the idea of their tweet came across almost like the sense of, because they're not in a Power Ranger costume, they're technically not Power Rangers. Well, like for me, I guess my mindset has always been, the costume doesn't make you a Power Ranger, right? It's what's inside. So it doesn't really matter like what your team is certainly going to look like. Like, yeah, and they may not have the uniform costumes or the bright colors and things like that. I don't think you can take that away from them still being technically a Power Ranger team. I mean, goodness, it's literally some of the original Power Rangers in here. So if there's anybody that has a right to be called a Power Ranger team, regardless of what they're wearing, it's definitely some of these characters in here. So listen, Power Ranger teams can come in all different shapes and sizes and iterations. Again, costumes do not make the man, right? What do they say in Kingsman? The suit does not make the man, or whatever the case may be. I can't, or something maketh. I think I'm messing it all up, honestly. But I've always heard the idea that the suit or the costume doesn't make you that person, right? It doesn't make you the man. So a Power Ranger costume doesn't necessarily make you Power Ranger. Doesn't make you Power Ranger. So um, I think this is going to be great. I've been a really big fan of the New Dawn storyline. So the fact that we're getting introduced to a brand new Power Ranger team, who knows? Maybe this is going to be a one-off. Maybe we'll get ourselves an ongoing series of these five. It is just odd to me. Again, the only reason I am assuming that these are the characters that I'm referring to. The fact that like she looks like Ranger Slayer Kimberly Hart, but she's not rocking like the brand new queen attire and things like that, right? She feels like she's rocking the older Ranger Slayer costume to a certain extent. So we'll see what happens, but it very much looks like Scorpina, Trini, Zach, Jason, and Kimberly. If you guys think differently, though, I definitely want to go ahead and know your thoughts in the live comments, or I should say the comment section down below, or the live chat. But yeah, look at the Shattered. Again, the group name, the Shattered, which actually works really well if you ask me. The coinless universe, the Shattered, feels pretty fitting. Continuing along though with Boom Studios, guys, don't forget we have a graphic novel coming out. That's right. We got a graphic novel out, or coming out, I should say. And mind you, it's following one of my favorite Power Ranger teams, or definitely up there for sure in regards to Time Force. So this is in fact the Sins of the Future preview, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's set to go ahead and drop towards the end of October, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Power Rangers Sins of the Future, definitely going to be focusing on Time Force. Now, a couple weeks back, I might actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and post up the panel. I probably should have posted the panel yesterday or today for Throwback Thursday, but I'll throw up the panel on Friday because of the fact that we're going to talk about Sins of the Future. But if you guys recall, Comic-Con at Home, I think it was, right? Or maybe it was the WonderCon. They were supposed to be hosting a Power Ranger panel. And during that Power Ranger panel, I think it was hosted by Aaron Cahill, I believe. A couple Power Rangers, Steve Cardenas was there, and a ton of the writers from Boom Studios. They talked a little bit about the future of Boom Studios, the comic book side for Power Rangers. And one of the topics that got brought up was Power Rangers Sins of the Future. They talked really highly about it. And ever since then, I've been really anticipating this series because of the fact that we are getting ourselves a new Ranger in this, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. We actually have ourselves an article. Let me go ahead and pull up this article here. Oops, I pulled up the wrong one. Hold on one second, guys. Yes, this is a preview here from comicbook.com for Power Rangers Sins of the Future, reveals Hyperforce ties, new Ranger, and more. This is an exclusive from comicbook.com. It says the Time Force Rangers will be back in the spotlight thanks to Boom Studios' new graphic novel. But there's much more to the story than a happy reunion. Jen and Wes will be front and center in a new story that could have a wide-ranging implications on the timeline. And we've got an exclusive new look at the anticipated book starting on the next slide. As you can see in the preview, not only will Hyperforce fans be immensely happy, but fans will be introduced to a new Time Force Ranger that is out to take down Jen at all costs. And we cannot wait to see what else is in store for our favorite Rangers. Let me go ahead and actually bring up some of these. I want to go ahead and highlight this for you guys. A preview that we wind up having here. If you guys can tell on the second page here down below, that is in fact the Hyperforce reference that they're referring to. There is in fact a line in this story for Hyperforce, so there are some connections to the series, the RPG series, if you will, for Hyperforce. I know it's going to make a ton of fans happy because listen, they were really bummed out that they never got themselves a second season, but the fact that Boom Studios is at least giving them some connections, making that particular Hyperforce team even more relevant, I think is brilliant, honestly. So Hyperforce fans, this is definitely a graphic novel for you to certainly go ahead and pick up and see how it certainly connects to that Hyperforce season that we wind up getting. And of course, as you can see here too, guys, on the far right-hand side, that is in fact a new Ranger. Her name is Chloe. Her name is Chloe, and she is in fact the Black Time Force Ranger. They haven't really given us any other information in regards to that besides the fact that she has a bone to pick with Jen. So yeah, Jen is certainly in for the fight of her life. We'll see what happens when Jen and Chloe wind up colliding. But yes, Chloe is the Black Ranger, Black Time Force Ranger, and we'll see exactly what her full story is definitely going forward. But yeah, these are just some of the Sins of the Future preview pages that they went ahead and released for us. The artwork doesn't look too bad, honestly. I really want to see. I'm really loving the image here of the Black Time Force Ranger. We did get the opportunity to see some of the concept art in the Power Ranger Boom Studios panel that they wind up releasing a few months back. Again, I will go ahead and put that panel on our YouTube page, sort of as a throwback, if you will, so you guys can go ahead and check that out and learn out more information if you want to. But yeah, these are just some of the pages for Sins of the Future. Going back to the article itself, it does go ahead. It says Sins of the Future follows Jen as she has to break the news to West that she needs to stay in the future from now on to be part of Hyperforce. But before she can actually get news out, both of them are attacked by a mysterious new ranger who says Jen has broken the timeline and is intent on taking her down. So listen, guys, they've always said, right, the idea of time traveling, never good for the timeline at all, right? Shattering things as you go along, as changes are being made. So yeah, somebody definitely has a bone to pick with her. But I love what we're getting here so far. I truly do. It's looking good to me from everything that I'm seeing, honestly. And we also have ourselves, yeah, but from everything that I'm seeing, it's looking really good right now. Let's also, this is actually the preview itself. It says Power Rangers Sins of the Future features two of the most popular Rangers of all time and what happens to them after the events of the hit Power Ranger Time Force television series. So, again, at least gives us a timestamp as to when it happens after the series. When Jenna returns from the future, she and Wes are attacked by a mysterious stranger who has dire news. The timelines have been altered with the deadly consequence, and Jen is to blame. The shocking identity of these accusers sets them on a collision path with an enemy they never expected. Can Jen and Wes survive the threat of their past, presents, and futures, or will it be the end of everything as they know it? I think that's a fantastic, fantastic premise, and it does say that the book is going to hit comic book stores October 28th, ladies and gentlemen. So we don't have to wait too long, but October 28th is in fact going to be the lucky day to go ahead and pick up Sins of the Future, and I cannot wait. From the synopsis to knowing when this series certainly takes place, Jen for me is one of my favorite Pink Rangers of all time. I absolutely love her and adore her. So the fact that she's getting some highlight in this series, I can't wait to see what they have in store for her as far as storyline wise goes. And I also love the fact that they even reference the idea of her wanting to become a part of Hyperforce, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe Jen does pop up in the Hyperforce series as well. And speaking of Hyperforce, guys, one of the things, especially animation wise, can you imagine us getting some Hyperforce episodes too, or maybe an entire Hyperforce animated series? Psh, give it to me, man. Give it to me. But anyway, guys, let me know your levels of excitement in regards to Sins of the Future, this graphic novel. This may be like their third or fourth graphic novel that they might have done for Power Rangers. Maybe I'm wrong, though. I'm kind of curious to know what you guys have thought about some of the graphic novels that we've gotten so far. I feel like some people have said that they can be kind of hit or miss. I think the one that I picked up was the Soul of the Dragon, the Tommy one. I thought that wasn't too bad, but I think that might be the only graphic novel one that I wind up getting. I think I missed the Psycho Rangers one, so I might have to try and pick that up. But I definitely will be getting Sins of the Future, and if anything, we certainly will be reviewing it for you here at APlus Morphinominal as well. So October 28th, ladies and gentlemen, it comes out. Go ahead and support your local comic book stores, and go ahead and pick this up. Pick this up, ladies and gentlemen. But let me know your thoughts in regards to it as well. And we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode here. We'll go ahead and do some live viewer questions because we do have some on tap for you. The first one up actually comes to us from Jessica Friedman. She says, "Hey, Adam, would you like to see more former actors come back to the show to reprise their roles? And do you think Nick would start showing old Power Rangers series like Jetix did back in the day? Um, you know, I don't know if Nick would showcase Jetix. I can't. Was Jetix just like on regular public television? I can't remember, or if that was something that like came up on Fox Kids or Fox Family, or if it's like Disney. So I don't know. I feel like I don't know if Nick would bring back older shows like that. I would love to see maybe some other streaming services try and bring back some of these old shows, though, to be honest with you. So I don't think Nick would pull the trigger on that because it's not their idea, right? It's not their own particular property, but maybe somebody else will one day, Jessica. I think that would be cool to have some of those older series back, like back with Jetix. I think that would be pretty cool. As far as seeing more actors come back to the show, listen, I'll jump back onto the idea of animation again, real quick. We all want to try and get these other Power Ranger actors involved that we haven't seen in live action in quite some time. The idea of animation would really help towards that. Not only would I want to see some of these actors come back for live action, yes, I would love to do that, but maybe they can't, right? Or maybe they're not being called up, if you will, right, to the big leagues. I don't know, but why not utilize some of those same actors that portrayed these characters to do the voice work for their characters in animation wise? Granted, I don't necessarily know how good they are at voice acting, but I'm sure they can certainly learn. I mean, listen, if you want to bring in other voice actors, that's cool. But listen, if you've got the actual actors there themselves, I'm sure they can read lines. I'm sure they can. I'm sure they could probably do the voice acting thing if they wanted to. But I think it would be a great opportunity to try and bring some of them back into the franchise, allow them to continue to be more active and things like that. That's another reason why I really would love to see the idea of an anthology series so that you can focus on other teams and you can bring back some of these other actors who are dying to become part of the franchise in a bigger way. You know what I mean? I mean, you can see some of these people going around tour to conventions, always talking about the idea that they're open to coming back to Power Rangers if they ever got a phone call. Well, pick up the phone. If you're doing some animation, I would love somebody to pick up the phone, call some of these past Power Rangers actors, and bring them on board to continue to tell their character stories, but in animation form. So, yes, I want animation, and I definitely would love to have more actors from the past certainly come back. So whether that be an animation for voice acting or live action, I'm all for it. One of the things that we've talked about with Dino Fury is a part of me is kind of hoping that we do have some sort of mentorship for our Rangers, similar to what we did with Real Soldier. And if we do have mentors, I really hope that they're, classic Power Rangers, whether that be from Dino Charge or whether that be from actually MMPR. Like for me, I would love to see David Yost come back as Billy. As much as Homeboy has been talking, listen, if there is any prediction that I would make, and I could be flat out wrong, but if there is any prediction that I would make, it would be the return of David Yost to Power Rangers in Dino Fury. I feel like him. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm super confident, but I just feel like if there is anybody, David Yost, Austin St. John probably would be willing to come back and do it. I'm sure Tyler, I'm sure any of the Dino Charge, cast would want to come back and do it as well. So if they do something like that, I'm all for it. But and even maybe in the middle of the season, if they want to sprinkle in a cameo for one episode, I'm perfectly all right with that. But yeah, they don't necessarily have to have huge roles because I don't want to take away from the team that we have. But I still think it is important to at least highlight them from time to time. So yes, bring back some of the actors from the past as well. This one is from AJ. And this is actually the last couple of questions that he has. He has two. Let's see here. If VR Troopers were to have a modern day revival like Power Rangers is now, what do you want to see different while staying true to the original VR Trooper TV series? Well, one, it's been forever since I've watched the VR Trooper TV series. But I did love it. And you guys I've said this before, if there is any of these like metal heroes that I would love to have adapted uh in today's day and age, it definitely is um VR Troopers. I just think where we're at technology wise and with VR, I think now would be a really great time to be able to tell some super compelling stories with virtual reality the way that it is now. Um, If anything, like, was to see different, I think it would be cool. It's probably gonna be expensive as hell, but I think it would be pretty cool, like, if you do have a system or whatever the case may be that does support VR, that there are aspects of the television show that require you to use your VR while you're watching it. Now clearly optional because not everybody has it, but like to further your experience, I think it would be really cool to have like me watching a show in my virtual reality, not necessarily even watching it, but like maybe there are timestamps or like something that pops up whenever it's time to put on your VR goggles and like transport, like that type of stuff. That would be cool if I'm like watching it live, and then something pops up and I put my goggles on and I can take part in whatever the case may be. I think that would be pretty sweet, honestly. So, yeah, if you want to do something different like that, it probably might cost a ton to try and do, but that would definitely be something I would be up for. We all know that Disney era was the golden era of Power Rangers, and after the original Saban era from MMPR to Wild Force. As a whole, what did you think of the Disney era Power Rangers until now compared to all the Neo Saban seasons except for Beast Morphers? I've always felt like Disney era had some hit and misses for me. I wasn't the biggest fan of Operation Overdrive. This may be unpopular to some people. I wasn't the biggest fan of Mystic Force, but I did love me like some Ninja Storm. I did love me some SPD, RPM. Like they did have some really great series for Disney. If anything, and I've said this before, I feel like the Neo Saban era of Power Rangers definitely took us back, like took us back even before Dino, like the Disney era, honestly. Maybe even further back. Like if there was a time before MMPR, that's probably what Neo Saban was like in regards to like storytelling. Like I even feel like the storytelling for MMPR and Zeo and Turbo and In Space, like all those were probably, well, not gonna say all those, but they're probably a ton better than what we wind up having for Neo Saban, honestly. So when I look back at the Disney era, there I do miss it at times. I do miss it for so many stories that I've heard of Disney not really even appreciating Power Rangers for what they had and not knowing what to do with it. Like I'm still surprised that they managed to do some really great things with these series. I mean, the production value, the attention to detail, I thought was really stellar. The performances, the actors, I thought everybody was pretty pretty well done, honestly, and handled relatively well. There are a couple seasons I walked away from that, going back and thinking about it, like, wow, these are actually some pretty solid seasons, and I can see why they're up there for so many, for so many fans. You know what I mean? They weren't afraid that Disney is storytellers. That's why Disney is as big as it is right now, because they have some of the best storytellers, and they know how to handle their characters, and I think that really shows in quite a few of the Disney era stuff. So there are definitely moments when I certainly miss the attention to detail and the love that they gave Power Rangers, even though they didn't. But now I feel like with Beast Morphers, maybe we can get kind of that era back. Maybe not as Disney era, but maybe a new era when it comes to Hasbro. Maybe they'll tap into something that'll really even take us beyond what Disney era wind up giving us. But when I look back at Disney era, really fond of those memories, man. I thought the regular Saban era, not too bad. Gave me some pretty quality stuff. I'm not the biggest fan of Turbo. I crap on that series a lot, with the exception of Cassie and TJ, but I'm really not a big fan of Turbo at all. And I know Mighty Morphin Power Rangers not the best series for sure, but there is something cool about the nostalgia factor, the actors and the characters that you grew up as a kid knowing. So it's always going to hold an important place in my heart. So it just went from Saban to Disney to Neo Saban to hopefully Hasbro. You know what I'm saying? That's the route that I'm really hoping that we're going. But I definitely do like the Disney era stuff. I did think that we had some gold there at times. And then your last question, you say, when you were a kid, what was your reaction when Power Rangers Turbo, the movie, was shown in theaters as the actual pilot and was in the same continuity of the actual TV series with some few cosmetic changes? Following, do you think that the formula would work again in modern day Power Rangers, but better, like the rumored Hasbro movie? So I will say this. I don't believe I watched Power Rangers Turbo the movie in theaters because I wasn't a fan of it. Um, I'm pretty sure I didn't see that one in theaters. I really don't think I saw that one in theaters. I think I probably jumped right into the TV series. And for the most part, I felt like even just jumping into the TV series, it was okay. Um, I think the formula probably would have worked back then if the movie was good, but the movie was trash. So it probably didn't give them the best momentum going into this season. Honestly, if that's how they used it, if the movie itself actually came out before the show as the actual pilot, is that how it worked out? You guys let me know because I honestly can't remember. But I will say the movie was trash. And so if they did utilize that as the pilot before the show itself, yeah, I can see why there wasn't a lot of enthusiasm for the television series itself. Um, do I think that formula could work again in modern day? Most definitely. Most definitely. We're seeing that utilized now, honestly. Couple examples. The Batman, right? The Batman's creating a television series that's going to be branched off of this movie, right? We got the Batman, and then it's spinning off a Gotham PD series on HBO Max. Now, granted, the series itself is a prequel to the Batman, but make no mistake, it is a launching point off for a television series. There was also another one out there that was creating a movie but was getting a spin-off. So it's becoming popular. The idea of doing that is becoming popular. It was another HBO Max show too, and I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe it'll come back to me. But the one thing that we've talked about when it comes to the Power Ranger movie, they Hasbro has talked really highly about the idea, like, hey, we're putting a lot of uh, our chickens in this basket, man. Like we're putting everything behind this Power Ranger movie. We want this movie to be successful and really kind of help maybe relaunch this franchise, if you will. So, like, for me, when I think of the Power Ranger movie and I guess you can say, lack of knowing what the future is going to hold for Power Rangers after Dino Fury, one of the things that I've talked about is I would love for the Power Ranger movie, because of the fact that some of the stuff that we've heard about this movie, that they're going to be getting an original cast, brand new characters that are going to become our team of Power Rangers. I honestly would love for that team to then go on to its own live action television series. Now, granted, it may not be 40 episodes. Hell, it may not even be 20 episodes, right? It may be like a 10, maybe 15, 16 episode series. But I love the idea of taking the characters from that movie, utilizing it to create a brand new template, rebranding your universe, whatever the case may be, and then taking those same characters and creating a television series for them. I think it would be great. I think it would be great. Put it on a streaming service, right? High production value, much better writing, access to better writers, if you will. Then you can work with them however you want to. Keep them around for a couple seasons. Hell, maybe drop 2 seasons, and you know what? Hey, we're going to be jumping back into another movie. Power Rangers 2, the sequel, right? Like the potential certainly is there. If I was Hasbro, I certainly would pull the trigger on that. Because I'm seeing a lot more movies doing that these days. Warner Brothers is taking advantage of that, right? Disney is doing Marvel movies and creating television series that are linking to the movies going forward and things like that, right? So I don't see why they couldn't do it either or if they wanted to. But for me, my money is on the idea of a live action movie branching us off into a brand new live action iteration for the Power Rangers, right? Again, we just talked about it at the top here, including cinema, including streaming, which I'm assuming means live action, and including animation. Make no mistake, Hasbro definitely has plans. But other than that, guys, I think that is going to do it for us today. So, guys, thank you very much for certainly joining me with all the fantastic questions. Thank you to AJ and to Jessica for going ahead and submitting those for us today. And thank you guys for certainly joining us here for our episode of A Plus More Phenomenal. Even though we weren't live, I certainly hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode for sure. And definitely let me know your thoughts in the comment section about everything that we certainly talked about today, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe if I have time, maybe I'll jump into the live chat and rewatch this with you guys. So we'll see what happens. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. We will, in fact, be back live next week. So definitely tune in next Saturday at noon Central Time, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if there are any particular questions that you want to go ahead and submit over to us, go ahead and email us at aplusmorephenomenal@gmail.com so you can have your question answered at the end of every episode here. And of course, if you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, guys. Listen, you may already have your YouTube channels that you go to for your Power Rangers stuff, but if you love what we do here, if you're looking for an additional home, I would never tell you to stop watching other people. If you want an additional home for your Power Ranger and Tokusatsu fandom, this is the place, guys. Hit that subscribe button along with that bell notification so when we do go live, you'll be notified. Also, check us out on social media at A Plus Opinions right here, guys. You can find us on our Facebook page, which is our hub for our channel, Twitter account, Instagram, and Twitch as well for you gamers, ladies and gentlemen. So other than that, that will do it for us today. So do me a big favor, guys. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and of course, keep it A plus. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.